put you on mute now because I do want to talk about the basketball game a little bit. We want to start following this team. We didn't talk about it much last year, but it's definitely going to be part of our conversations moving forward. We'll have a show on Saturday. They play Texas at 4 p.m. Yeah, Dave, just drink. I do want to talk a little bit ball with Cam. Ugly game. Ugly game falling to Mizzou 83-82. I'm not. It's like baseball. There's so many games. I never really panic. I like watching these games in conference play. Always testy, but we got out play. We got out physical. Here's my concern though. Here's what I want to bring up. Been a big fan of Todd Golden. Think he's done some great things. What I liked about Mike White when he was on our team is we moved Mike White, that coaching, his style of play, moves the ball around very well. Gets everybody involved. Very similar to Popovich and the Spurs. I mean, you just kind of got everybody, just old guys, just move the ball around, get it to the open guy, score. Could put you to sleep a little bit, and it's very similar to kind of how like Billy runs his offense. Like if you get into that flow, it's hard to beat. However, what the problem with those Mike White teams is when you needed a guy to kind of step up, when you needed a guy to hit a shot, they didn't have it. Florida has had that now with Walter Clayton the last 2 years, and this year with Elijah Martin, he's kind of stepped up into that role, which has helped take the pressure off Martin. Last night, Martin has a good game. Nobody else has a good game. But Martin's been struggling. Not Martin, excuse me. Clayton's been struggling because they've been passing the ball around. So there's a sense of identity that needs to be found with this offense. And I was really concerned last night because when Mizzou decided to they were putting 3 on Walter, and it's like nobody knew what to do. They just kept passing it back to him and try to set a screen for him to hit a 3. And I understand they were down, but they were down by like 4 points. Just play good defense, which you're able to do. We've seen it against Tennessee, and pass the ball around, get some movement, get it to your big guys. And they just look lost out there. Losing a game like this, hopefully you're able to see that and overcome that. That's why I think sometimes losing games like this is good. And this is what also people need to understand about basketball and why upsets happened in March Madness is because it's matchups. You may play all these teams all season long and roll into the March Madness tournament and play the Peacocks down in South Florida, and they just got a guy that's not missing in the month of March, and you don't have an answer for it because you hadn't really been tested like that. That's how basketball works. That's why it makes it fun, but that's why you have series and in the NBA, so you can figure out those tendencies and learn how to shut down their strengths. But that's why I like these games. And again, I think the SEC tournament will give us a true vibe of how this team is rolling. It's not burn it all down, but those were my concerns that I picked up from last night. Cam, I'll pass the buck to you. Dave, continue to drink.
Well, I think it's also a testament of just how good the SEC is this year with basketball. It really feels like any given night, anything can happen. I don't think anyone expected Florida to beat Tennessee by 30 and then struggle on the road to Arkansas and then lose their next matchup at home against an unranked opponent. Kentucky was kind of the same way where they beat Florida by 6 at home. Their very next game, they lost on the road. No, they did lose. I got confused with Auburn for a second. But it's a testament that the SEC is really good this year. And, I think it's too early to hit, again, the panic button with this too. But a lot of these Todd Golden losses in recent years, towards the end of last year.
This show is, of course, brought to you by BetUS. And right now, when you use the code YouTube150 at BetUS.com, you get 150% back on your first deposit, then $125 on your next two. And with the football playoffs, college football championships and playoffs happening, and then March Madness right around the corner, there is not a better time right now than to sign up for BetUS.com and use that code to maximize your return. Check it out, BetUS.com. Use the code YouTube150. Now back to the show. Get after it.
And the 2 losses this year have been kind of similar. They struggle with free throw shooting towards the end.
Oh,
they have a guy who gets super hot and hits every 3-pointer, and they just cannot stop him. Now, the effort's admirable. They were down 19, and it was a 1-point game. And, not to blame officiating, but this game should have gone into overtime. That was a bad missed call on a 3-pointer. But, again, there were a lot of reasons why they lost that game. 3-point shooting, they did not do a good job of stopping it. The free throws, especially, Clayton missed 2 late in the game. They missed 10 overall. They had, I don't even know how many turnovers, and it led to like 18 points for Missouri. And these are kind of traits that they had in the loss to Kentucky. They got out-physical I know I'm referencing last year, but out-physical against Colorado last year. But those are the most 3 recent losses, and they were all similar where they fought towards the end, but a lot of these miscues just kept costing them. And it's the same issues over and over again. So it's frustrating. If you're going to have a loss like this, have it early in the year so you can rebound nicely.
For sure.
Um, there really is no excuse to lose a game like this at the same time.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. That's 100% right that a lot of these games are very similar in how they lost. When they lost to Colorado in the tournament last year, big boy in the middle, I don't know his name, just got hot. We couldn't stop him. Just they kept just feeding him the ball, and we couldn't make a damn free throw. The score was literally, I think, what it was for Kentucky was like 106 to 100. And it's like we were shooting lights out. Walter Clayton got hot, and Brendan even said Walter Clayton's extremely talented, but mentally just kind of struggles. And this goes to the point where like I was telling Cody this morning, I was like, if that guy's not shooting the ball, he's not touching it, he's not making it. And so that's where he's been cold because the team's been scoring. You go look, Will Richards been balling out. Ardeen or yeah, Martin's been playing healthy, right? Like everyone's kind of getting 10, 12 points a game and just doing well. And when it's like, all right, Walter, your turn, he's like, I haven't touched the ball all game. I ain't got that in me. So that's something they've got to work on. And again, I think a loss like this, hopefully, it kind of brings it to light of losing it. Late night game Tuesday night. I mean, no excuse. You should be out there to kick ass and take names. And I think one of the coaches I think it was for Tennessee, pulled one of the players. Did you see that quote? He said it's your
Yeah,
you get paid to do this. You actually get
you're
paid.
getting paid. You're getting paid to shoot. And if you're not going to shoot, you're not going to play. And that's kind of the era that we're in with college basketball now. Florida doesn't have that problem, thankfully, where you know Golden's not calling out guys like that in the press, and there's not guys who aren't playing their role. I just don't think that they're playing their role well in some nights. Like Clayton, he had 28 points yesterday, but he's coming off of back-to-back performances where he just struggled mightily, and the other guys lifted him up. Now it was the exact opposite, and Florida couldn't get it done. Now he had a great performance, but what's it got to take to get everybody on the same page, especially going into a tough SEC schedule? The beautiful thing about basketball is too is you don't have to wait a week for your next game, and you have way more than 12 games to worry about. So they're playing again on Saturday. They have a
Yep.
good matchup against. I think that they're going to win that one. They're still projected to be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So there's time to fix these issues. The problem is it feels like every loss it comes down to the same three things: turnovers, free throws, and one guy randomly on the other team getting hot and they cannot
Very
stop him for.
fixable things. That's where I get
Yeah,
it. Yeah, the free throw thing just makes me irate. And look, I kind of mentioned my White thing. That wasn't. I'm not a guy of like we should have kept Mike White or we should. I'm not saying that. I like Todd. I think he's done some great things. I was specifically just comparing the two playing styles and like those were some the things that I think that Todd can just embody a little bit of. And I think at times we've shown that. But again, that's where Walter kind of struggles. So that's what they've got to figure out. And I do think Todd's playing experiment, and you have to. You've got to figure like again, like I said, when you go into the tournament, you're gonna come across a team you've never seen before, and you gotta go watch film really quick, and then the next day the same thing could happen. So that's why upsets happen. It's sure the Cinderella story and all those things, but it's literally matchup. I mean, I talk about all the time. I play when you play ping pong. I can beat these six guys, right? No problemo, and these guys will beat another guy, no problemo. But I play that guy. That guy beats me just because his style of game is just weird, and I can't seem to figure it out. There's a guy like that I play like that all the time at work. Like he would get beat by a lot of people who I would just run through, but his game just gave me fits. The way that it played, it didn't compliment me. And basketball is very similar to that. But